See, diabetes is a great equalizer. There is no poor people and rich people diabetes. Diabetes affects everyone, and that we are very conscious of. The unfortunate thing is it's a rule of half. If there is 2 diabetics, only 1 would get diagnosed. Actually, this has been a study which has looked at the prevalence, and they said if n number of people are diabetic, only half get diagnosed, half get treated, half of that get controlled, and half of that will get complications. So that's how the diabetes is. So that is the unfortunate part. The diabetes comes equally to the rich and the poor. The unfortunate part is maybe it would not get diagnosed in the socially economically poorer class because they may not go to the doctor to get tested. They may say, oh, I'm tired because of n number of reasons they are tired. I worked hard, I did this, I did that, and they would not just get evaluated. Otherwise, I don't believe there's any difference between diabetes which occurs in the rich and the poor.
I see. It's almost cutting across all
Yes,
strata.
all strata.
Now, when it comes to the genetic factor, how is the genetic factor showing especially in Bangalore?
Definitely type 2 diabetes is a genetic disorder, right? So if we usually traditionally learn that if one parent is diabetic, then you have a 30% chance of inheritance, and if both your parents are diabetic, you have an inheritance pattern of about 60 to 70%. The problem that we are facing now is not just the inheritance that people are becoming diabetic, they're becoming diabetic much earlier. So like I was talking about type 1, now for me to see an adolescent with diabetes is not uncommon. To see a 15-year-old with diabetes is not uncommon. I would check. Like I wouldn't even think about it maybe about a decade earlier that a 10-year-old or 8-year-old would be diabetic, but today that is strongly in my mind that okay, an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old can also be a diabetic, type 2 diabetes, not type 1. So it is coming across all age groups, and this we have to keep it in mind that it can happen.
Do you attribute that to the problem of plenty?
I would. It's not just, it's a huge multiple problem if you look at it. It's just not that the availability is there. We also understand that today both the parents are working, and it is very difficult to spend a lot of time with your children. Mother is away, father is away. So if a child wants something, he is not denied. So a child gets whatever he wants today. Earlier it was time that would be given. Now it is, instead of time,
everything other than time.
Other than time, exactly, is given to the child. And the child is very intelligent. He knows exactly how to play his cards. And he would tell his mother, I want this, or I want that chocolate, I want that packet of chips. And mother would buy, or father would buy it for him, wherein, the taste is something which is developed. And a child who's used to eating nice, tasty food doesn't want to go back to our traditional South Indian food, which is actually very good.
Come to that in a bit about traditional food in Bangalore. But then there are also reports which says that even 10 visits, just about 10 visits to a fast food joint can get you diabetes type 2. If that is the kind of danger that prevails, you see that kind of situation in Bangalore also?
See, we do.
Also in Bangalore?
We do see in Bangalore a lot of obesity. Now, if you look at the risk factors of diabetes, what are they? Lifestyle, which includes diet, exercise, and stress.
Okay.
All three of it, plenty is there in Bangalore.
Sure.
Diet, every second house or a building has a restaurant or a fast food center or something. And if you look at exercise, though we all talk about exercise and things like that, it's hardly getting done. But to say a positive aspect, I do see a lot of Bangaloreans walking nowadays. I do see them walking, but still obesity is increasing. Coming back to lifestyle, there are 3 components: diet, stress, and exercise. Now, if you look at diet, there is availability is huge. There is every other joint every 2 buildings there is a joint which is a restaurant or a fast food center.
True.
And then you have
disposable income.
absolutely. So there is money to buy it, and there are people who have known the taste, because like Bangalore has traveled a lot. People, many of them have gone to outside the country. They know what is life. They have seen what is Caucasian food, and they like to come back to it here. So there is definitely a want, and it's available. The next thing is the exercise part of it. Though it is slightly, trend is changing. We do have marathon runs, and we do see Bangalore is walking a little bit more, but not enough as much as we would want it to. And stress, don't ask. It's a competitive world, and we are the Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. So we have a huge number of competition and stress. The competition starts from standard one. Walk to work in Bangalore is an impossibility. So there are bad pavements, and many times I ask my elderly diabetic patients, please don't walk on the pavements, because in case you have a fracture, then you will be in more trouble than better. But yes, there are parks, and if there's a will, there is a way. Most of them who are in software, they have huge areas where they can walk. And the other thing that we want to tell the youngsters is that it's not just the walking. You can't say, okay, I did half an hour of my walking, 23 and a half hours I will be either on the chair, on the sofa, or on the bed. Cannot happen that way. So it has to be that they have to be mobile. That culture has to come in.
Let me take your opinion on this. There are two schools of thoughts, especially among diabetologists. One would say that you need to walk without any kind of stress in the morning. And the other kind of diabetologist would say, just walk whenever you get a chance. If you are in a sales job, instead of catching a taxi or a rickshaw, just walk. If it is below 1 kilometer, just walk towards your destination.
No, I think both the diabetologists are right, because you just need to be mobile. If you're asking what is ideal, mm-hmm. then yes, walking on an empty stomach is much better than walking on a full stomach. So there are advantages. You burn more calories when you're walking on an empty stomach than you burn on a full stomach.
Which means that even functional exercises are good enough for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're mobile, just take a break after an hour, go to the restroom, go speak to your colleague or whatever, get a glass of water, and that would be good enough. But you need to be mobile. You need to be on your feet at least some of the day. But if you ask them, most of the youngsters who are in IT professional or otherwise, they are not moving. They are not moving. That's the problem.
There is a suggestion that bosses should actually get out of their cabins and go and walk up to their
absolutely.
Pick up the phone
and actually, I was attending a meeting once in US where a guy next to me was just jumping, all the time. He was jumping. This thin guy, and why is he jumping like this? And then he was the next speaker. And he went and told the thing, and he said, none of you should sit, and that is why you age. And that guy, who looked not a day more than 30, was about 55 years. Wow. And he was talking about the positivity of this energy burning, which can happen in just not by that walk. Can happen even when you're standing, when you're doing anything. So if these things are told to people, I think many of them would get up, because I think there's a will. In Bangalore, people are young, they want to do all these things. They are worried about their health, and they spend a lot of time for health, thinking about health. But when it comes to implementation of practicality, I think they have no suggestions to them. So supposing they were told these things like go, get up, meet your colleague rather than pick up the phone and talk to him, I think it will go a long way.